Great. Nice. You're perfectly welcome. Okay, that's great. So I will turn on my webcam. Hi, I'm Jessica, and welcome to this webinar. First and foremost, thanks for being here. And also, I hope you can bear with me as this is the second time I'm using this software. So I hope everything will remain fine. How I would love to work is have a little bit of interaction with you through the chat box, because there's quite some people here and I cannot just, give you all the microphone. Maybe at the end when there's some questions, I can open up the mic. So that's all fine. I will work with some slides, some sheets. It's a little bit of improvisation as always, but I did prepare. I hope I give you a nice structure of things. And if there's questions after the webinar, let me know. I will take them for you. So for now, I hope you can all see my screen. And first of all, I have a question for you, and that is actually, well, what is leadership for you actually? Because we're talking about human-centered leadership, and I have my ideas about it. But what is it for you? Can you write it in the chat box for me and the group, of course? So if people, I see Hoop is also there. Hoop, can you also hear me? If so, can you write it in the chat box, please? That would be great. So the question is, what is leadership for you? Serving others, says Lotte. Great. Isabel, leadership is about having a vision about the near future and guiding other people in society to go there. Wow, beautiful. Nice. Mikhail and John and Lupna, if you have an answer for us to read about, that would be great. Great. Okay, I hope everyone can still hear me. Okay, so serving others and having a clear vision and help people guiding towards their own vision and building their own future. Well, I can totally agree with that. I also feel there's more and more need for this. If we look around us, there's people that often do not really know what they want and what they're capable of, and they feel stuck in this certain pattern or in this profile they have for their work, and they forget about it's kind of an identity crisis in some cases, that you are your work or something, you are your profile. This is also how we got it taught in university, of course, that you study something. I'm a sociologist, or I'm a political scientist, and that's it. So I would like to start with a small introduction about myself. Well, according to the Dutch education system, I'm all this, but I don't really care so much. But sometimes people do care and they want to know what my background is. So that's why the sheet is here. So I'm a sociologist. I studied in Utrecht. A business anthropologist, international relations I studied as well and finished that. So I can call myself a political scientist too. I'm an entrepreneur. I think I had 9 months. I worked for the Ministry of Health and Welfare. And after that, I've always worked for myself. And I'm also an improvisation theater actor and trainer. And well, when I connect the dots, it makes sense that, where I am as of today, and that is unlocking potential in a systemic way. And with systemic, I mean it's from a human-centered perspective, And from there on, I always think, okay, if in this context potential is unlocked, what would happen if you take it to a next level, which is teams or organizations or society. So this lens I've created, well, myself or through my education or through my how my world has constructed around me, actually helps me to make that translation. And I always thought that everyone, this is obvious and everyone is looking to the world in a systemic way. But I've learned the hard way this is not what it is at all. And I will come back to that later. So, as a sociologist, I studied pro social behavior across the world. How come that in, for example, China, there's less pro social behavior towards people outside their family circles than, for example, in the Netherlands? Well, very interesting research. Then as a business anthropologist, I lived in Costa Rica, did field work about postmodernism and how it influences traditional values of countries and organizations. Um, for international relations, I worked for the UN, United Nations, and headquarters New York at the socio-economy department. Yeah, very interesting. But also here, I really already started to realize in a not very pleasant way that the structure that they provided me was not making me flourish at all. It made me feel insecure, the way the power relations were handled, so to speak. I had to do only one task and couldn't really look beyond the box. And this is also this whole presentation is really also about my experiences in the field and what I've really validated and what works for me and for many other people. And this particular example is, of course, from my subjective viewpoint. So I don't want to say that working at the United Nations is stupid or crap, but for me, I couldn't flourish in such a structure that was totally capturing me and kind of made me feel lost what I was really good at, and to explore that and to experiment that. And this is what I see with more people nowadays, that the structure is not working anymore, and people feel the urge to to hang on to their intrinsic motivation and qualities and create something rather than it's already yeah top down decided for you what you can do. And it also makes you think really small and not in an innovative way, because you're simply executing. People hold the control and you're simply executing. So nowadays, I also apply some sessions in university. So now I'm switching to my work background. Well, what I already said, I work at the Ministry of Health. I worked at for Wikimedia. I worked a lot international in 5 different countries. I still love doing that. This is also why I work more online nowadays, as I also see it's being really effective. Of course, that needs to be there too. And I also work for business schools. For Nijrode, I worked, but now as a trainer, coach. I wouldn't say lecture. I don't like that word so much, for the International Business Innovation Studies. And I really champion that university or school. That's why I put it here, because they really, I think they have students drawn to their curriculum that are really the next generation students. So, I think they also really resonate with Host to Transform, as it is being integrated into their curriculum as of today. And the same counts for the Han University, Hogeschool Arnhem-Nijmegen, Applied Science. They also integrated Host in their curriculum for entrepreneurship. International entrepreneurship, and then the specific course which is called entrepreneurial behavior. So that's very cool that it's taking the next step. Well, connecting the dots, I already mentioned that. Why do I put these pictures here? Not to keep talking about myself, but also to give a little example, maybe how I work as a person. So I'm kind of hands-on. You can see me here in Costa Rica working for the as a volunteer for the fire department to get the field work information, so get data from the field. I did a lot of in-depth interviews. This methodology they called participation observation. So by joining them, I got the real information out there instead of sitting in an ivory tower, like a lot of politicians do still, unfortunately, not everyone, and think of what policy to make. So I think that's why, again, I put this picture here. I really learned how to get the information from the field and work with it and frame it and translate it to policy level or whatever you want to call it, what you can do next with it. So next to that, I'm also in. Yeah, this is why the United Nations picture is here. I'm also really an idealist. How do you say that? Idealist. I really want to contribute to a better world. This is also my purpose. You know, I want to bring more humble people, make people more humble towards themselves and others. And by that, I would love to, yeah, through a systemic way, that this is becomes a ripple effect, and people pass it forward. And because of that, more things can get accomplished, even in very complex organization context, where people decide upon many lives or big quests. I think especially there, a way for people to become more humble towards themselves and towards others to get to better outcome is the way to go. And then I will explain later a little bit what I mean by that. Okay, so okay, I will stop talking about myself, but you hear I was rowing the regatta from Vienna to Budapest for human rights. I went to Burning Man. I went to SOCAP, which is really cool. I would recommend everyone to go. Sunculp, it's called Social Capital Markets. It is an event in San Francisco, and it's talking about how can you create meaning, and because of that, because of your mission, you create meaning and value. You can make a beautiful business out of that and become multi-millionaire, whatever you like to be. But how can you accomplish that? And I think this is the next level of leadership too. That those things go hand in hand. Mission, having a meaning in life, and also a purpose that contributes not only to your lifestyle but to many others, and create a margin, the revenue stream. So, I travel a lot. This was Palestine. A friend of mine got married there, so you get to know a little bit about me. I'm also an improv actor, theater actor. I love to train more than actually to be on stage. So here I was in India training the Improv India. They're pretty well known, and this was also everything had to do by hosting them, making them feel secure to get the best performance going. Because what they were doing, they were really, and this is, I think, also the India humor maybe, but they really want to make the quick and easy jokes that are kind of suspected. But what I would love for them to see is that to be really present, and because of that, to tap into their vulnerability by not knowing what the other will do. But then because of that, then you create synergy, because you will surplus one and the other, and you will not go by planning ahead or having a script or thinking of a joke what the audience might like. No, then you're in your head and you try to be funny. But often the most beautiful things in life that work for many people, that they come by surprise or by synchronicity, and not so much by only planning. I'm not saying you shouldn't plan anything, but some people are holding on to structures too much. So I use improv sometimes as a beautiful metaphor for being the here and now. Some people that are online also joined some of my former sessions like 4 years ago. Then I was really talking about play and all those things, being in the here and now, leaping into it, new situations. But now, I'm taking it to the next level. So my purpose, I already mentioned, is help to for people to be more humble towards themselves and others. In the United Nations, and me working as a lecturer for Nairobi Business School, unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way that being in these prestigious organizations, having your diplomas, maybe having the skills is not enough, because if you feel not connected with yourself or with your environment, or I see it as one thing, then you're kind of lost and you cannot tap into your potential, and you will not perform well or sufficient. Some people can get away with it because they have work that is maybe not so relevant for a lot of people to see. It's less tangible, I should say. Well, for me, and I hope I attract people also in this webinar, for me, it's very important that I do unlock my potential. It doesn't have to be my full potential, but I do not want to do work just because to earn money and get a living. I think my time is too precious. And also, having said that, I think I am, and maybe people that are online and they're from the West, or not even the West, but they're maybe from welfare economies or countries. I think it's kind of our obligation to do more than just earning ourselves a salary, to go beyond that, because we have the tools. Unfortunately, more and more people have the tools around the world to create, welfare. So this purpose of mine, I translated it after a while. How can we connect people from different walks of life in such a way that they empower each other? How can we pull that off in a very short time? I mean, having a team building session for 3 weeks or once a year, or all these very expensive and long programs. Is there not a way that we can just kind of cut the bullshit and do it in a fast pace? Sorry, I'm just sipping some water. And how to unlock, by that, I translated into the question, how to unlock human potential within individuals, teams, organizations, societies. How can we do that? So how can we provide, how we can tap into the systemic way and not only into your own surroundings. And this, in general, it has all to do with awareness, because if something works for you, you can also think, hey, if it works for me, what would happen if I teach 10 people to do the same, etc. So you're already accumulating the impact. So, unlocking human potential by hosting a supportive mindset and work environment. This is actually where it came down to when I talk about host to transform. And we have 3 products at the moment, but this webinar will really be about unlocking human potential and human centered leadership. So, leadership from within. Exactly what Isabel said at the start of this webinar. It's really about um, giving tools to people or their insights and connecting with themselves so they create their own path to their future. And it's not that you uh, multitask or paternalize them to do so. And now you encourage them, and you can even do that by hosting an environment that is encouraging one and the other. And I think it's the best thing you can do. I think it's also very contagious. Once you start providing, for example, these hosted transform sessions that I will tap into in a second, you will see, that the sky is the limit. If that works, what's next? If that works in 20 minutes, what can we do more? And this is exactly what I hope to provide with this webinar, that I'm not giving you a blueprint or an A to Z guide what to do or steps. I just give you a formula, a way that to host these kind of sessions, and that really worked for me. And I will give you some case stories about that too. How did it work? So you can provide that in your own work context, and set the tone and make meaningful work environments, innovation within work environments, and vitality within work environments occur. So this is, I'm really a person that loves to work with graphics, frameworks, models, however you want to call them, not because everything in there is scientifically proven from A to Z, but this is again based on my experience. And after 4 years of testing and validating this model, it resonates with almost everyone. So, having said that, I think this is kind of a universal way how you can communicate the mechanism that I, and maybe also you and 90 practitioners that I've trained, want to trigger within people. So, in order to create self leadership, and leadership in your environment is that, of course, you have to, well, of course, for me by now is of course, but you have to leave your comfort zone. You have to do something different because the things you do at this moment of time will bring you the same results, which can be cool. But if you want to change things, then you have to change your behavior and your actions too. And for doing that, I hope people can see my error, by the way. I'm not sure. I'm kind of, maybe I need to draw on stick. I don't know. But anyhow, you jump out of the comfort zone. But by doing that, you will notice that you are judging yourself, or you're skeptic, or you're fearful towards yourself or others. And there's many exercises, and also in the mini course you can download for free on my website. You will see, if you provide these exercises, you will see that you are actually, if you provide these sessions or when you're joining them, that you are judging yourself 24/7 a day. And these are also called limiting beliefs. Doesn't really matter how it's called, but just so we get into the same jargon. I'm not being vague here. And those limiting beliefs can be very helpful when you cross the street and things like that. That you're cautious and all that. But overall, they're a little bit overprotecting you and want to keep you in your same patterns because the comfort zone is comfortable. And what these Host Transform sessions do is to connect you with yourself so you feel comfortable with the people around you. And by that, you feel encouraged to leave your comfort zone in kind of a comfortable way. And you move beyond the judgments, the skepticism, and fears. And this little logo on the right corner is somebody hosting a session. So this is an accelerator. So you leave your comfort zone, and that's why you can tap into personal growth, because you will experiment new things in which you reflect upon yourself but also the group around you in a humble way. So not by criticizing or judging, or does it work, does it not work? No, by being very open. And if you tap into that, you can, and when you're growing as a person, and well, we need another graph for this. I don't want to go into too much detail now, because then we get into entrepreneurship as well. But by that, and if you also know your purpose, then you can really create value for people around you. That could be your team members, your peers, or maybe students you're lecturing, your organizations, or society as a whole. But when you're still in a space when you're tapping into scarcity, and you let me give a a concrete example. Like for 3 or no, maybe 2 years, I've provided free hosted transform sessions on a weekly basis and multiple times. And the thing is that I was so addicted to it because it was so tangible. The effect was right in front of my eyes. People were championing me. I unlocked potential right there on the spot. People built new businesses. They got new connections. They found their investors. All those things. They felt more happy during the day, less critical about themselves. All those things I love to create. However, there was no business model behind it. So in the end of the day, when I went to India, I went to India, did this great things, and I got paid for a lot of jobs I did. But of course, the economy is different there from here. So when I came back, my bank account was not very pleased with my decisions. However, my senses were. But still, you don't want to get stressed by these things, that you do what you love, but you cannot earn any cent with it. So you also have to think of business models. But overall, this model is showing you and people around you that if you connect with yourself and others, you will grow as a person. And it's difficult to explain now, but if you do these exercises, things will fall in place. Um, if there's any questions so far, you can type it into the chat box, and I will try to answer it when I can. I don't see any questions so far. Then I will just continue. So to try to simplify it a little bit. So I'm talking about inner boundaries and outer boundaries that we need to move beyond. So connect beyond boundaries is what our tagline is. So when you connect around beyond your inner boundaries is when you connect beyond the fear, skepticism, judgments. And when you connect out beyond your outer boundaries, it's really about connecting beyond the educational structures, for example, or beyond the organizational walls, or beyond national boundaries. These are often external and something, yeah, it's a little bit more out of your zone of influence. But these are also boundaries that can block you for perceiving what you want. And Host to Transform focuses first of all on the inner boundaries, and by that you can spread it to your surrounding and really mobilize innovation and things to change on a bigger scale. So, as you might see, or maybe not, but I really believe in co-constructing your own world, and this is post positivism stream of social science. And one of my heroes is Michael Foucault, and he is also a strong proponent of creating what we see in our own worlds is what we create ourselves, and that will again have influence on how we perceive the world and how we create that again. So it's kind of an ongoing loop of interdependency of the agent, which is me, create having influence on my world, and the world has influence on me again. Concrete example is, for example, when you buy new shoes. When you buy blue shoes, suddenly you see everyone in the city wearing those shoes, and it's not because suddenly this is true that everyone bought those shoes. No, it was always there. But now you have more focus on that. You look because you're conscious about your new shoes. You see them, and you're like, wow, everyone is having these shoes. So maybe I should buy more of blue because blue is kind of the trend. I love it. And before you know, you created your own reality, and which is changing you as a person. So it's really, what are you focusing on, what do you see, and how will you take that back into your own life, and that's influencing you again. And this is also how subcultures get created, of course. And the whole challenge is to be open enough and curious enough for your own belief system, to keep open for new beliefs or new truths or new things to discover. And not that only blue shoes are the new trend. Maybe there's other shoes too. Maybe silly example, but I hope it's concrete enough. Um, Sometimes during the sessions, I also use the innovation spiral for people to know how this resonates with their organization. So if you trigger the mindset, if you influence it, if you unlock positive mindsets and behavior, that it will actually create a process on its own. So I got a question, I think it was by Huub, how to how the condition to make it more concrete, how you get self-steering groups, how to make it more practical, um, and how to create the conditions for that. Well, if you unlock a positive mindset and work environment, you create the conditions for self-steering teams. You will see it will occur by itself. There were even some practitioners that were quite disappointed, like, oh, and there I was providing sessions, and then I didn't get any attention anymore because everyone was just engaged. And then I said, congratulations, this is pure servant leadership. I mean, you're not needed anymore. So what can you wish for? People feel empowered enough to make decisions, to talk with people, etc. And if you take it a step to the next step, like what I do with a lot of entrepreneurs and students, I'm also coaching next week. I will start a leadership program, and they are actually working towards a product or a service or a project. Doesn't really matter what product is an outcome, and how can you make this happen together with a group or as an entrepreneur, but also in organizations. But it all starts with the mindset and with the behavior, and of course also with your purpose. Do you really know what you want? And this has to do with talent, your passion, with your mission in life, and in which conditions you flourish. But I will skip this part because otherwise I get too much in entrepreneurship. And this is really about unlocking leadership within your environment. So the birth of host. So how does it all came to into existence? Um, and what are the ingredients for this framework? Like I said, what is the practical application of all this? Well, like I mentioned, at the UN, I didn't feel fit. At this business schools, I didn't really feel a fit. I've been invited for transformation to write. Yeah, how do I say this? To write on the paper for a transformation of the energy, the sustainable energy, so traditional energy towards sustainable energy in the Netherlands, to write a paper with Jan-Paul van Soest and Jan Rotmans. But during our board sessions, so to speak, or meetings, there was not really a safe environment created. People were really holding on to their own portfolio, and the same I've recognized when I was into politics, that people were really holding on to their portfolio simply because they have to protect it because they're representing that. I understand. I'm not saying I don't understand it, but it's not really fruitful for the process to flourish, for innovation to occur. Because at the end of the day, yeah, we were just disagreeing, and there was nothing new that arose on the table. So from there on, I think subconsciously I was already thinking, hey, how can I change this? And then I started working as an entrepreneur in various co-work spaces around the globe, in India, but also in the Netherlands, in the Hub, in Seats to Meet, and all those locations. And I realized, like, hey, now there's no system to blame. There's no system, no boss. There's all entrepreneurs working for themselves. But still, I see there's a lot of people still not really connecting with themselves. They're fearful. They want to strive for their startup. They want to be successful. Well, which nothing is wrong with that, but you could sense it. And there was not a lot of connection between people. And then I start to realize, like, hey, it's not a Valhalla right now per se that I'm an entrepreneur and everything will be innovative and new and everything will work. No, there's still this universal human centered need for someone, for something to create this safe space where you feel relaxed, where you feel like, hey, I'm not the only one that is maybe struggling with my startup, or hey, I'm not the only one with a question or that cannot do everything by him or herself. So when I realized that, I started to provide 20-minute sessions. And I was already in the training field. I was already providing trainings for companies and all that, which I liked, but it was not really something I loved to do because I was too eager. I wanted to see it going to the next phase, and not, like often when you're invited to host a training, it's like you're there for a team building session once a year, or the new year is coming up, so you just kind of a checkbox in their annual report. Sorry, I'm being really black and white now, but for me, often it felt like that. Or you had a group of people in front of you, and they would say, "Oh, we don't even know what we're gonna do," and then you're like, "Oh, gee." You didn't even enroll for this. I want people that are really eager to learn something and to do something with it. So anyhow, of course, if you're a good trainer, you can work your ways around it. But if you really want to have impact, you also need people that are committed, that want to do something, that maybe paid for it, or they take the time for it and they take it to the next level. Otherwise, I'm wasting their time and they are wasting my time. So I was providing, let me get back to where I was starting. Oh, yeah, 20-minute sessions. And I was, let me see, what's the next? This is the next step when I got invited by India to do some consultancy work there. Let me get back to that in a second. So I was providing some sessions every week, and it was like mind blowing. People, there were like 40 entrepreneurs in the open space. strangers, people that were already buddies, doesn't matter, or people from banks that just work there between entrepreneurs because they want to be in a different environment. So innovators, professionals, everyone. um, and because of these sessions that cost like 20 minutes of their time, they met people they would have otherwise never had met before. And before I knew, I kind of had a structure in how to provide these sessions. First of all, yeah, to get the people energetic, to really move from their critical rational mind to move to their heart or hand, I don't know how you call it, but move to feel connected with themselves. And you can do this through energetic exercises that are not silly per se, they're just fun. And if you host them well, and I can give you tools for that, then everyone feels that there's also a rationale behind it, why they should do it. So you can frame it very clearly. You could even say, like, hey, there's scientific proof that when you move around, that your learning curve is increasing, because when you move, your head, your mind, your brain is activated, and by that you create more oxygen, so you can learn better. So why do we sit down, And this is a good question when you have a meeting, for example. Why would you sit down all the time? Um, so I really try to move beyond the creative facilitation, silly thing. And often I wouldn't even say I have a background in improv theater, because I don't want to be stamped by that, put in a box that I'm the actor, and this is why we do stuff. No, this is just because everyone should do it, because it's healthy. It's like having yoga or meditation. It's so getting integrated in our culture now. I think these host sessions deserve to be integrated too, because you get energized, you feel more open, and then you create likability towards one another to share your doubts, your knowledge, your networks, your skills, or whatever you have, in order to unlock transformation on a human level, individual level, team level, organizational level, and even on a societal level. Anyhow, I was doing those sessions, and they became so popular that people just from across the country came to join them. Or at one day, I got a request like, hey, we want to have those sessions too. Can you please teach us how you do this? And I had never thought of that before. So this is kind of a train the trainer format. And then I thought, okay, why not? I can try it. So from that moment on, I was, providing train the trainer sessions. And from then suddenly I got requests from Belgium, from Germany, and also, well, not India per se, because I went to India, but now I get requests from India. And here you can see I did a workshop. I was there to talk about their co-work space they were in. But before I knew, those workshops became so popular. So again, I saw there was a lot of demand for people that are starting their business, entrepreneurs, or are innovators in companies, to feel connected with themselves and others, to move beyond the skepticism, the judgments and fears, like in this transformation model that I just showed you. So here you can see in this picture, there's also people from America, there's people from London, there's local people from, this is Bangalore, by the way. Really cool urban city. I think the next most innovative city from the world. It's already passing by Silicon Valley. Um, and here you could see there are so many people joining this session. This was that's in my premature times when I provided sessions. I was really flabbergasted, like, wow, where are all those people coming from? And how can I pull this off? So here I also started to develop agile ways of hosting, of facilitating, of providing sessions, because sometimes there would be three people and sometimes there would be 50 or sometimes even 500 when I was providing it at events. As here, I was not per se this workshop, but I was in an event and there were 500 people joining that session. So I could also pull it off by, providing a hosted form session with 500 people. So before I knew, I was starting to facilitate. I was giving certifications, and I was training people, and then it moved forward. So people were facilitating sessions in their own work context, in Google, but also in the province of North Holland. So Isabella knows about that. With Laura, she works there. Isabella's online right now, so I think it resonates with her. Um, and Yeah, it really got to the next level, also out of my control, which is great. And before I knew, we trained like 90 practitioners that are applying these sessions on a frequently basis. And of course, it has to be enduring. So now we built this online program so people can, get inspiration whenever they want, host to transform on the go, so to speak, to provide these sessions. So here you can see also people from students I've even certified to provide these sessions in class. So even the lecture gets hosted by them. So this is, I think, the ultimate way to serve to be a servant leader. So they kind of stress relieve the lecture by making the class participative and engaged with one and the other. And these are some companies that it's applied to. We also got caught by the news. We got into the Deutsche Welle, which is an international broadcast online paper. So it really grew. And now, as of today, there's mostly trainers, coaches, facilitator, human interaction designers, educators, executives that join these trainings, and also online as we speak, and it works perfectly. And the fields of application is business innovation, organization development, leadership development, social empowerment, etc., etc. Photos. Yeah, there's a lot of practitioners also in our Facebook group. I could just show you that how what kind of people this are. So here you can see it's around 92 members. Now we work with the online platform, but this is the formal platform we work with. So Alice is the interim manager. I can already give some case stories now, how Host and Swarm worked for them. And she is she's a human resource manager, interim manager, but she was not really liking her work so much anymore because it was really about matchmaking and profiles of between people in organizations. And because of these sessions and because of the framework foremost, because she's really inspired by the Agile framework, which I will present in a second. It really gives her tools and more grip on where to go in her work and to perceive human research from a different angle than from a structured based, but more from the human intrinsic base. You see Sylvia, you see Galini, she was in Brazil. She provided sessions to unlock women empowerment, which is really cool. Here see the students. Here's Sylvia. She integrated the model in her curriculum. So now she's training entrepreneurial behavior, mindsets. Also, Annemieke I've trained. She works for Fontes University. And she feels really more certain with the framework, and that she really knows what she's doing, and she's even influencing in a positive way her management and also the curriculum for lectures. So this is called BKO. So how lectures should, what kind of training they should get to become a lecturer, and this is nowadays becomes more strict, I think. And she's influencing that curriculum because, talking about the mission of your school you work in, is that saying anything about if you can unlock potential within your students and if you can make them fall in love with one another in order to participate during the classes, but also outside school, that they're really gonna, implement their work and tasks. So this is from the education as a point of view, as an example. And there's many more. There's people in co-work spaces that still provide them, etc. And if you want to know more about the case studies, there's like 26. There's like 26 stories over here. Let me see. People that talk about how they apply it in their work practice. So you have to go to the website and then to case studies, and you can listen to their stories because I'm kind of bad in repeating what they are saying. It's way better to listen to their stories, yeah, straight from the heart than me translating it. So how did I integrate it practically? Well, the sessions are sometimes part of co-create sessions. They're part of training programs. They can be part of meetings of self-steering teams, multi-stakeholder participation, decision-making processes, well, education, as I explained, how to host a presentation, a brainstorm, and events, etc. So here you can see somebody was already drawing the host formula because this is Laura, by the way, Isabel. She draw beautiful, yeah, beautiful. She visualized actually the formula, which was really cool. Mm. So what people say that it's very practical, the tools, it connects body and mind. It's easy to apply and tweak in your work context. It combines fun and serious business. There are frameworks that are clear and give certainty what to do. There are clear explanations that help you understand why you do what you do. And it helps overcome skepticism and judgment, like the model just said. So these are some user experiences, but you can listen to the stories too if you like to. So what is my purpose now? I wrote down 4.0 because my purpose was to get everyone humble and to connect with yourself because I often felt fearful. And because of that, at my work at the United Nations, because I was fearful, I was making even more mistakes. And because of that, I was not contributing at all to the beautiful holistic mission, world peace. And well, that was quite painful to realize. So, what is my mission now? My purpose is to, yeah, make the host human-centered leadership skills as they work beautifully, the toolkit accessible to as many people as possible. So, not only to the designated leaders, because what we see happening now, still, unfortunately, is that leadership development programs are only there for the managers or they're only there for the executives. But I think those people need people from the bottom, so to speak, the floor or the operation or whatever you want to call it, that also open up their blinkers and think along with their strategy and how they can push the organization forward. Why wouldn't an employee be interested in that? Of course, if you can do it in a way that fits you. In the case of the United Nations, I had to write newsletters, and I'm really terrible at that. At times I'm even dyslexic. So I became dyslexic at that time and became so fearful that I couldn't flourish at all. But I'm great in networking, and then, well, I had to discover that still back then. So, to make it accessible, also in a practical sense, on mobile devices and computers, so everyone can tap into that, but also through our membership site, so people can really support each other when there's a question like, hey, tomorrow I want to host a session, or this is the case, this is my context. There's some people that are really kind of left brain or analytical, and they might judge me. What can I do? There's all next to the program, which is also explaining how to overcome all these things. There's people around you that can help you too. And there's some challenges and all that. So I also make sure that you move forward and yeah, jump out of your comfort zone now and then. So yeah, my story, sorry, this sheet is a little bit mixed up. So felt fearful, no mistakes, instead of having energy, joy, innovate myself in my work context. I also experienced competition in my work field as well when I was in politics, as well when I was at the UN, as well as when I was in the business school. Um, People were competitors instead of collaborating. And it sounds really mushy, but an example, I was always sharing my sheets when I was lecturing at the business school of Nairobi. But there were a lot of lectures that wouldn't do that, and they wouldn't come up to a drink and to talk about some students that maybe are a little bit more difficult to cope with. They were not sharing anything, and yeah, I think well, let's not get into the negative, but anyhow, I felt a lot of competition, and it didn't work for me, that environment. And also controlling things instead of motivating each other. And this is also what you hear a lot nowadays. Big leaders, as of today, say you should unlock leadership and you should let go of control and become more servant. So the three pillars of leadership for me, and where this presentation is about unlocking leadership. So this is the practitioners one, and then unlocking leadership within your environment, so you generate value. That's why this spiral is going outwards. So this is outrospection, as they call it. And the second pillar of leadership is introspection. This is our master program. What do you really want, and how would you love to perceive it, and what are your next steps? And finding your purpose is not a piece of cake, but it really helps if people help you with it and facilitating that process, so it can accelerate. Because you will ask or I will ask, or whoever is with you will ask the uncomfortable questions in order to jump out of there and to get into personal growth. And if you're in an environment where everyone feels kind of comfortable and they're kind of fearful of changing their career or becoming an entrepreneur, they might not ask you these questions. And the third step is entrepreneurship. How can you scale your impact? But the practitioners one, somebody already asked me, how does the formula work? Well, the formula host works accordingly. It's a next level leadership toolkit that embodies human centered process innovation skills that help you to unlock human potential within individual teams and organization society. So, this is the host formula. You unlock energy, positivity, and therefore people are more open and will be more open to have meaningful conversations, to get engaged, and to move beyond their judgment, skepticism, and fears. And because of that, they are more willing to share resources and skills and networks that otherwise they wouldn't have gained. And by that, you create, you host a transformation, a small one maybe, but if you do it consistently and in different ways, as the program will teach you, you can unlock the potential of many others. So, a lot of organizations want to change. Why is this such a big opportunity then? Well, they want to change, but they do not know how. And the current programs that are out there, they're often really focused on skills, on let's develop new skills, or let's change maybe the structure of the organization a little bit. But you see, even if they talk about table dialogues, yesterday I was coaching John, and he's having a table dialogue. He's hosting as of today. But this was totally, well, I should have got the notebook. But anyway, this jargon they were using was totally had nothing to do with dialogue, and the way it was structured. They were almost saying feel connected. I mean, this is not how it works. So you can see there's kind of lacking of emerging knowledge, lacking expertise, or I don't know how you call that. And also for open workspaces. I remember when I was, Isabel, in your workshop, when I was providing that at the province of North Holland, there were a lot of people that didn't know the rationale behind having a open workspace. And a lot of people were irritated by it, that they have to change table all the time. And there's even people getting fixed places in an open workspace, which is kind of controversial what people want to gain with this. So and also creating self-stirring teams. They try to do it on a profile based. Okay, we have an entrepreneur now. We have someone that's from a different discipline, and now we give them the task, and now it will happen. But they forget about the intrinsic motivation of people and how you can unlock that by doing this in a human-centric way, from the inside out instead of the outside in. And even if they know that they know the process could be tweaked, then they find it really hard to do that, because it really takes a 180-degree different approach. And they often think very difficult and complex. and they may be afraid of losing face. So a lot of leadership programs out there, and it's not just me saying this. It's also McKinsey that has reports about it. Kotler Leadership University has reports about it. That the biggest failure of leadership programs is all about lacking experiential learning. That even experiential learning as of today is phrased as 70-20-10. So they try to make it, they try to structure it again. So 70% of your time you are doing your work, 20% of your time you have workshops, and 10% of the time you're networking or something like that. But again, it doesn't work like that. It's people you talk about. So I think these kind of, the way they frame it is kind of, not the way to go. And the good news is it's not rocket science to unlock a positive mindset and positive environment. It's not difficult at all. Um, Train your mind to see the good in everyone, in every situation. You only need to connect people with themselves and with others. So being a host is being a servant leader, and this is also not about. It's not about you. It's. I remember yesterday, 2 days ago, I provided a session, and people were so engaged with each other that I could even leave the room, went to the toilet, got some water, like I started off the session with, you know, I gave away the control. I gave away the leadership. Of course, I was still there. I will also explain that hosting is also something you shouldn't underestimate. It takes time to really get it into your DNA. But it might feel awkward in the beginning that you don't have this control and but you created such a safetiness and trustfulness that people will not do silly things. They will only contribute to it and listen to each other. So you really accelerate that process, which is beautiful. And you will provide them information and autonomy, and you will not keep it for yourself. So I also think the train the trainer format is a beautiful format of servant leadership in that sense. So servant leadership is a buzzword, but do they really get it? This is already what I just mentioned. Um, I don't know if you're familiar with this graph, but it's the World After Midnight graph of David Obang, one of the TED Talks he gave. And this is also showing that again, this is just a model to have these kind of conversations about. It's not a fact, but I think it makes a point that the horizontal line is time, and the vertical line is speed of change. That linear learning, the gray era, the arrow, is not something that resonates with us as of today. We already crossed the break point, the red bullet, that we actually do not really know what we do not know. And this can be really scary for a lot of people. I mean, when we go back, if we go to the left, when you see the linear learning point, this is the time when we knew, okay, I want to become a doctor. So what do I need to know? This is the person that has all the knowledge about this subject. I will go and join his, I don't know, lectures, and I will become a doctor. If, of course, if you like to become a doctor. So you really know where to get the knowledge. But now we're in a time, the knowledge is everywhere, and indirectly there's skills everywhere. You go to Fiverr or these outsource platforms, you can just outsource everything. So what does it mean? And also, who's right and who's wrong? It's also all about perceptions, and in the end, we need different skills here. We don't need so much skills again, how to learn stuff by heart in a linear way, but we need to learn how to become more conscious about people thinking differently, or how to engage yourself, and how to share what you have to create value and not be afraid of that, and jump into new situations and deal with uncertainty. This is often the biggest eye opener in my sessions, that wow, Jess, your whole host transform is actually about unlocking an agile work environment where people get used to deal with uncertainty and to see opportunities and pivot it into something positive instead of making it something scary and negative. So this was really cool that people grasped that. So yeah, Let me see. So this is, well, very short. Sometimes I use this reflection framework, so people get to familiar with being agile. For me, agile is not something that I only refer to as something that has something to do with software. I know agile came in origin from software, as when you have a piece of software that you have worked on for 10 years and you have to change it for a different purpose, you cannot rebuild the whole software. You have to build a new puzzle point of the puzzle, piece of the puzzle, in order to give it a different meaning. And this is also how we work as of today. You're not gonna stop your company and start working on a totally different product. Well, you can do that, but then first you need to know if there's demand, and by that you need to be adaptable to your environment, generous, first give a lot to your potential customers. Do they really love what you do, or is it just you being fanatic about what you think you do? And this also counts for companies. This is not only if you're an entrepreneur, but also in a company. Do you really yeah, can you really help someone? And one session that I provided, after that there was some task migration that came out of that people were sharing. Someone's doing bookkeeping and the other one's doing different things, and they were just exchanging tasks because one person didn't like it and the other one did. So that's really cool. Intuition is very important. Leaping into new situations, go for your goal and make mistakes and smart failure, learn from it. Empathy towards yourself also, huh? So when you make mistakes, are you going to downsize yourself and sit in a corner for the rest of the year? Or are you learn from your mistakes, implement it, and go for the next level? Standing still is the only mistake you can make, as they say. Another mistake that a lot of organizations do, is that they don't measure impact. As a constant feedback loop is very much needed in order to get to the next level with your product or your service. Also, when you provided training, ask also during the sessions. I ask people for their opinion, because I hate nothing more than having evaluation forms you get in your mailbox like 6 months after the session, and there's nothing you can do about it anymore. And there's one big miscommunication with certain participants, maybe, that expected something different. So I always want to, check the temperature during sessions, meetings, whatever you do. And this method I also explain thoroughly in the program. So measurements. A lot of companies do not have an integral approach. Like I already mentioned, you have one in a year, you have a team building session, and then that's it. Or you're gonna train your I don't know, personal development or something, and that's it. I don't think people work like that. We are constant moving creatures, like also Foucault is advocating that he's also developing himself, and he's always curious what person he will become next. And if that is your attitude, you will understand that you're continuously learning and developing. And it would be great if your environment can create that for you and with you, and not you by yourself joining a course once in so many times. I'm not saying skill-based courses that are more from linear learning point of view are bad. And of course, if you're a shrink, you still need to, or a surgeon, you still need to know when you do a heart operation, what is what, etc. I don't want to be, get in that discussion. That's not interesting for me. But there's this shift to different kind of skills that we need to enhance, and this is unlocking potential within yourself and others. And if you can do that, well, there's so much out there. There's so much abundance. The sky is the limit. You need what also is nice in an organization, if you're by yourself in a team, or when you're the fire starter. Also, people at the province of North Holland, I remember, they started to work together in groups, which is really nice, because then you're not an Einzelgänger. You don't feel alone when you want to apply these sessions, for example, the host transform sessions. So yeah, you can learn from each other and make it become bigger in your own way, and apply it in your own way, of course. Because I think that's also something, the way I work is agile. So I'm not saying this is the way. I'm giving you the formula, I'm giving you what works. And then what the outcome is something that you should know and care about as a practitioner in your field, an expert in your field. So that's why, yeah, it's really a process innovation tool in that sense. So, coalition of change makers. Don't do it yourself. Get some early adapters around you. Get some multi stakeholders from outside and inside the organization to join from various levels, different departments. So you get yeah, the most value out of it and prevent reinventing the wheel. A lot of people were like, "Hey, we're actually doing the same thing in our department. Maybe we should talk." It's very funny how, yeah, serendipity, as they call it, yeah, things arise from that. Diversity. Also engage people that are more a little bit more skeptical or judgmental for change, or they're doing things differently. It's really not about them not wanting to change or do things differently. It's just that there's so a lot of stuff out there that is for me rubbish. Sorry for my language, but for example, these kind of role play things that are talking about change, and then suddenly the whole company needs to understand, yeah, we have to change, and they're gonna applaud it. You know, this is all really passive way of learning again. You're watching a piece and you have your opinion about it. The other day there was a girl, a friend, she approached me. Ah, Jess, I wish I knew about host before, because now we hired this guy and he's just an actor and he's, doing all these silly things about agileness and all that, but he doesn't get it. We were not even applauding him. And we're all fearful and we're all stressed. So it's not funny to just make a joke out of it. And this is, of course, not the purpose. And also, when I work with people, I'm not paternalizing them. I'm actually make them work. Because if I work a lot, that's a bad sign. Then I'm actually trying too hard. So I'm hosting them to connect with themselves and with others to get also the most controversial and maybe most critical conversations going in order to move forward. Yeah, and also when you host a session, be in the here and now, but it counts for everyone, I think. It's really, if you unlock leadership, yeah, you should also be very present. Often I say after these sessions, like, oh, everyone can host, it's easy, and in theory, it's really easy. It's very practical to do, to apply. However, you do become better at it, because if I compare myself now with somebody that is just starting, I can really see that they have an approach that they really take the exercises very literally, and they sometimes forget about the debrief and how to make people reflect upon their own behavior and gain new insights, and most of all, to take steps. What are they going to do with it? Insights are lovely, but you want people to change, to do things, not so much to change things, but to do things. I think that's why we provide workshop sessions. It's not only for insights, because then you can also watch a beautiful movie, you get insights too. I really want to encourage people to change things and feel like, yeah, there's common wisdom or common acknowledgement or common commitment, even for you, yeah, to move forward. Um, it's also, yeah, I already mentioned sometimes the holistic approach is missing. You see a lot of organizations, they get into Scrum or Lean Stigma, which is all great. This is more about working more effectively and in less time with less resources. I actually want to perceive the same with hosts, but then through human intrinsic values to trigger the human centered potential, and not so much giving people less time to do something faster, or maybe more time, but in a task that they don't like to do, and it doesn't really bring anything to their life in a positive way, in living a vital, meaningful, and a more healthy life, and creating the lifestyle that you like. Um, so I'm really about the toolkit is an holistic approach. It's an eclectic toolkit that exists out of, well, I can go on forever, but solution focused methodologies, um, maybe even some art of hosting, appreciative inquiry. What's there more? positive psychology. And this is not even stuff that I had in mind on forehand, but this is what people see in it. So I'm actually just emphasizing that this is there. Why is it so urgent for systemic transformation to facilitate that? Why is it now really so urgent? I gave you some insights of breakthroughs of mine. There were more or less 15. But why is it so urgent to do that? Am I just making this up myself, or what's going on? Well, first of all, depression is to become the second leading cause of disease in the worldwide in 2020. World Health Organization has its prospects about that, um, which means that a lot of people are not. What they're currently doing is not really helping them because they get stressed, burnout, or depressed. So this is already pointing out that we need something different, very different approach, or maybe work with what is already there, but perceive it in a different way. Um, the lifespan of companies has decreased by more than 50 years, from 67 years in 20 to just 15 years. And what does it mean? That the lifespan of a company used to be 50 years. So when you were a company, you were kind of, when you were successful, you had kind of monopolized the market for 50 years or longer, and you were in the top three maybe of most successful companies, and you didn't really have to worry. But as of today, it's just 15 years. Sorry, I said 15 years. So that means that, yeah, when you're successful, again, you don't have the certainty that this will remain because the world is changing so fast. Of course, of the World Wide Web, of technology, and all that too. So people can simply copy paste stuff from one and the other, which is not bad at all, but it also asks a different mindset for companies and to work maybe more in a community way where people build something together and being more agile and can pivot in a moment and have the autonomy to do so rather than working top down and it takes 10 years for to integrate something. um, Okay, and the final one, I just put out three, there's way more. Urban migration, globalization is increasing. This is by the IOM, International Organization of Migration, but also globalization is increasing. So we have to deal, I think it's beautiful. We have to embrace more types or different types of cultures, work cultures, but also national cultures. So, yeah, this actually means that. Yeah, you cannot just have a team building session for every person that you meet again. There should be a tool out there that just accelerates that process and people feel comfortable on a human centered basis and not so much focus on the differences between one and the other. And well, this is what Hosted Transform offers also for cultures. So having said that, I hope I covered most of it. I'm already yeah 1 hour and something. I'm speaking. So I would love to share with you what is there. So I'm talking about this host toolkit for quite a bit now, and now we're also launching the world's first membership site to empower and engage leaders of transformation. And this is very cool because on this website or membership site, which is very accessible on your mobile and computer, and you don't need all these codes and all that. I can even jump in for a second. Oh wait. Do you still see me, guys? I'm not sure if it is something right. I hope you can still see the screen because this is something new for me too. Can you still see the screen, guys? I hope so. Can somebody respond? Can you still see the screen? Can you type a message? Richard, John, Lotte. Can you still wait, I will. Can you see me, guys? Hello. Hello. A hand of Richard. Can you type something in the chat if you still hear me? Otherwise, I'm not sure. I hope so. So anyhow, I hope you can still hear me. This is the membership site that I would love to walk you through. Richard. Okay. Is there any attendee that can is still hearing me? Hello, hello. Okay. Okay, Richard is still there. Okay, phew. Phew, you can see me. I can see the responses now. Sorry, guys. I'm not very used to this yet. Okay, so this is the membership site. You can see all people already introducing themselves. Really nice. All want to make a change in their work environment. This is the training program where you have access to. Here you can see all the exercises, the H, the O, the S exercises, how you certified yourself, and all that. Yeah, here you can also see Carla. She's a co-creator of strategy business models. Yeah, she's a practitioner. You can see she posted one of her photos on her resume. I don't know if you care, but some people also want to, yeah, build their LinkedIn. So she worked for Philips and all that, and now she's integrating the host methodology. And you can see, here it is. She is also applied. She has applied the certificate on her LinkedIn, so that's also nice to know. Let me go back to the. So that's first of all. So people get engaged with each other, empowered. There will be challenges. There will be a support desk for you to answer all your questions if you're stuck or if you have questions or anything. Thank Richard for the wink. Me being retarded with this program. Yeah, the 25 stories, I just showed you that. And you can use it on the go on any device you like to work with. So yeah, if you're interested in joining the Host Transform program, go to this website, hostedtransform.com/host, and you will get a nice discount because you already joined this webinar and you're also in the early stages of Hosted Transform flourishing around the world. It's integrated in 5 countries now, so that's really cool. In Canada, Brazil, India, Germany, Amsterdam, and even Belgium. And yeah, what you gain is the what I already mentioned. That you get access to the membership site for 6 months for free. You get access to the program, and yeah, you get the chance to ask questions online, and so we make sure that you always get help with the translation to your own work context. Having said that, I'm even very curious about your work context, so I want to help you in the best way I can. So go to this website. I think there's like 30 minutes or so. There's a countdown thing to help your decision making on it. And well, normally this will be like around 1,500 euros. Because the membership will charge for that soon, but you will get access for free, like I said, and you only pay half of the price of the practitioner's course, which normally is 1,000, and now it's 599 euros. So if you go to this link, you can apply, and it would be great to have your commitment by that And already congratulations if you enroll. Uh, and now, if there's questions, I'm here to answer them. So, meanwhile, you might go to the website. Um, could you share some eye openers with us? You mean exercises? This is always really hard to explain. That's why I made the host mini course. So you can go also online and enroll for the mini course, which is free. And you have six or between 4 or 5 exercises for free. And then you also see how I present them and all that. So you can experience that. So if you want to have some eye openers, yeah, you can go to the mini course. Also for who posed the question? Huub, is Huub still there? I'm curious if I answered his question about self-learning. He's already off. Great. Are there any questions left about the hostess form? So let me know. I see still. Wait a little bit. Not really. Okay, so having said this, I will just leave the screen on for a little while so you can see where to go. If there's questions after this, then please send me an email or let me know what you think of the webinar. Always welcome. This was my second time working with this software, so I hope it was valuable for you and I gave a clear picture and I answered all your questions. And I love to see you soon and have an agile and great day. Thank you.